Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining in. We will give it a few minutes to let other speakers, right, and of course, a bit more listeners to join in. For the time being, take 2 minutes to grab your drinks, get comfortable, because things are about to get spooky, guys. Okay, I think we can slowly kick off. I see that some of our distinguished speakers are already there. That is good. So, welcome to our scary soiree ahead of course, Wax's space slash roundtable on also all things spooky. We will not get, I suppose, particularly into the kind of the what's what, who's doing what Halloween themed, yeah, projects or special collabs or something of the sort. But instead, we're going to focus this time on the kind of the horror and all of its aspects in the prism through the prism of Web3 and ownership that NFTs bring. Because as you know, for the games that we have, for the artists working on horror, or any other NFT collections really that we have, it is almost always a very important aspect, so to say, of their work, horror or not, that they reward their community with something that can never be taken away from them. And this is the angle that we're going to be going for with today's Twitter space. For now, let me hand over the mic to our amazing co-hosts from the other side of the grave. Some dead blokes, everybody. Say hello.
Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing out there? I know we're doing pretty good over here. Amazing weather. Glad to be here. If you haven't, make sure you actually retweet the space. Tell your friends, tell everybody else. I know we've got some more speakers that are supposed to be coming. Pack the house while you can. We are enjoying this time of coming up to Halloween, of course. Just having fun with that, seeing all the spooky and the ghouls and everything coming out, all the haunted houses, it's coming out locally, and all the people getting their mask and everything ready for the big Halloween march and hay rides and all those things that happen. So just having all fun with that right now in real life. Us over here, we're continuing to build. We're continuing to do a few things that we're going to be unveiling, hopefully, maybe on Halloween. We might have a large announcement that'll be coming out for something for to reward our community and people that want to come out and actually try our game and actually play it. There's a few other new things that we've got developing with some partners. We've got some really cool things going on in the background with a few maps that we're working on, getting some more things done with those. We brought in another new artist on one of those to help out with some really meticulous items. That was really cool. Working with another studio that's here in Web3 to work possibly on another case of interoperability coming up. And working towards going to mobile by the end of the year. There's some big announcements and some things that we've been working on. We do have a few things that we're hoping to again announce on Halloween and a few more things coming up here in the first week of November. We've had some delays where some other partners have been building out some things and some announcements and getting some things ready. Unfortunately, I don't believe we're going to be able to have a big Halloween tournament. I know last year we got to have an amazing Halloween tournament. We had some sponsors, unfortunately, back out there. But we're just trying to do all the things as the spooky season brings on, try to make it fun and scary as much as possible.
Well, that's the spirit, I would say. Are the zombies getting a bit rowdier as Halloween approaches?
They always seem to come out of the grave a lot faster. It's a time that, of course, with the full moon going to be coming up too here soon, they might get extra rowdy, as most people know that the full moon brings out kind of weird tendencies, and they say that people are more active, animals more active, more crimes happen, more spooky things happen, things like that. So it's going to be a pretty cool Halloween coming in too. You most definitely want to keep your head around your shoulder for the undead.
Well, that's as solid advice as any. Byron is, at least was supposed to join us as a speaker. I sent him a couple of invites already, but Byron, please accept the invite and freaking introduce yourself. I mean, obviously, Byron is one of the people on Wax who need no introduction, right? This is probably one of the most prominent horror artists I've ever freaking known. Byron is a speaker. Yay, say hello.
Hello.
Oh, that's awesome. Man, every time I see your art, I just have to ask myself, what kind of things got to be happening in this beautifully twisted mind so that they pour onto paper or other creative means like that. I guess also wanted to start with a question for you, Byron, and of course for Underblocks folks. Why horror? What about it specifically made it super appealing for you to basically turn it into your, well, everyday work?
Who's first?
You go ahead.
Actually, I get asked that question a lot, and I don't have a very good answer. I just like horror, and my art style, I've decided, fits best with that. I can't do nicer things. I just have a tendency to start twisting everything into, as you said, beautifully twisted things. So I just like horror. You know, my wife loves horror, so I got into horror, and now it's just nonstop horror.
Sounds like a very, I don't know, Adam's Family scenario. Every day is Halloween with you, darling.
Pretty much. It's the theme of our house for sure. Unintentionally, though. I mean, it's just what we do.
No, that's something I can definitely get behind and respect. I did see a couple of days ago a post that sort of asked the question what the point of horror is. Some said that it's to survive, some say that it's to lose yourself. What's the point of horror for you?
It's a release. I can do all those things that I picture in my head. I can do them on paper, and I won't go to jail.
That's a solid argument. Can't really argue with that. What about you, Undead Blocks? Why are you unleashing the zombie hordes? Why are you coming up with all of this stuff? Is the point of horror for you fun, or is it something else entirely?
It's definitely fun. It's also target practice. Uh, lots of ways to look at it. It gets the blood flowing like really nothing else, I guess you would say. Uh, it grabs that part of the brain that just only really reacts that way when you get put in that situation, get scared, have those thoughts run through your mind, race through your mind, thinking it might be your last breath, thinking you've got to fight your way out of this, thinking whatever scenario it might be that's running through your head, everybody's different. But it's still that you're scared, usually all the hair on your neck and sometimes all over your body standing up. Your adrenaline sometimes is at levels you've never seen before, or at levels that it's only obtained when you're in that kind of same scared, kind of about to die. Uh, we know that it's something that people just can't get enough of, as you just heard. Somebody's family is completely immersed into it. I'm sure they're not the only one here. There's many others all around the world that just can't get enough of it. And it's whether it's zombies or serial killers or the thoughts that they have in their head they might want to do to somebody that pissed them off, but yet they write them down so they don't go to jail, as pertained earlier. There's so many different levels to it. Ours is just the undead and actual zombies coming after you that could possibly eat your brains. Then you become one of them. Most definitely would never want that to happen. As we've seen, anything to do with that's been huge throughout any kind of horror section. So there's people that just find their little avenue in horror. I mean, they make now every type of damn movie, from going back to the originals to old school when I was a kid, like Pumpkinhead, and like there's all different types of genres of horror. So we just fit in right there where the undead is.
Now that's solid. That's solid. You know, what you said kind of got me thinking, because there's one of the most common arguments for why we love exposing ourselves to that is the in the centuries, literally, where humans have been creating those conditioned experiences for themselves as books, as movies, as video games, right? At the last few decades, um, is that for us, specifically being those kind of adrenaline junkies, wanting to face this subconsciously, or very, very deliberately, but in a controlled environment where nothing can really hurt us. Is that something that you agree with, or do you think the appeal of the horror to the human race overall lies somewhere differently? I guess it's a question, yeah, for both Byron and the Undead Blocks folks, whoever wants to go first.
Feel free.
Again, it's hard to say because everybody pertains what they think of horror, how it's come upon, whether they like playing horror video games, whether they like reading Stephen King books, whether they like watching Stephen King movies, whether they like watching some other kind of horror movie. Think of whatever it might be, whether it's serial killer or actual creature, werewolf, vampire. There's so many. It's hard for, I guess, to say because everybody's different. I'd say that everybody's kind of here for the immersed section of kind of the lore of the digital asset kind of into horror. Owning something of your own into horror, or something that you can be remembered, or own something that's remembered by horror or something, whether it's artwork or whether it is a game or possibly other things that's coming out in time, whether it's a weapon that you can use to create some kind of horror, like you're killing people or killing zombies or killing other people or something like that. It's hard to say there. I mean, everybody, we're a very diverse world, a lot of people here now. It's hard to say, but it's something that I believe even the people that don't like it, that's like, oh, I don't want to watch that, or oh, like I can't think about that. Like it still kind of makes them feel all weird inside and changes their kind of their perception of the moment right then, I guess you would say. Horror is something that's just so fucking hard to explain because there's so many different avenues and everybody gets it differently. It could be a mouse crawling down the floor like my daughter that's at 9 and it spooks her and scares her, and it could be somebody that never bothers, but they think of serial killers and watch shows like Mindhunter or something like that. Like it's very wild. So to me, it's hard to explain. But for us, we think that it immerses people in difference. You've got people that want to kill things. It's in horror. You got people that want to try not to be killed or not be found. You've got games like that. You've got all kinds of things where you've got to do quests or where you're battling things through the quest, like a Resident Evil or something. And you've got just artwork and TV shows. There's so much in verse. It's your mind can run rampant in the section of horror. Like it's like science fiction. Like literally, it can go to, and you can even have horror science fiction. Like and then like it goes to no bounds. Like that's the biggest thing there that I would say is it's hard to judge saying for everybody because everybody gets scared differently. Like literally, when you go to the haunted house or whatever, not every room's going to scare you, but it might scare the person in front of you. Vice versa. Same way with artwork, same way with gaming, same way with movies, same way with anything in horror.
Absolutely.
Byron, do you have anything to add to that? Because I feel like we're really opening some things up here.
Not much to add. I mean, he pretty much covered it all. Horror, people like horror for the same reason they like a train wreck. They don't like it, but they can't help themselves and will look at it. You know what I mean? Like horror sells, bad news sells. People, like he said, everybody finds something a little bit different that's freaky for them, but at the same time, like it can be anything. Like horror is just so. Same with zombies, right? Zombies can be anybody. It could be your best friend. It could be that guy that you tripped going up the stairs or whatever. Like zombies are anybody, anything, anyone, anytime. Horror, people like it. I don't know why. I completely went off the rails there. Sorry.
No, that's exactly what we want. I mean, part of the horror experience, I suppose, is going off the rails, and we do want to get spooky. So that's entirely on brand here, I would say. All right, that kind of spawned another train of thought for me because, again, we've all started from, well, humanity horror-wise started from similarly the same concepts, right? So we have all sorts of bloodsuckers across many cultures with different names, different attributes, but it all boils down to one essential thing, right? All sorts of undead, all sorts of demons and other mystical creatures and whatnot. But then I think it was about maybe 20 or 30 years back, there came a whole kind of community created library of the new horrors, the new urban legends, so to say. And I was thinking about asking the question, while there is still the lot of love for the classics, right? Why do you think people sort of had the need to come up with new ways of spooking themselves, or the new concepts, new entities to get scared of? Any thoughts on that?
We're always looking for a new thrill, right?
Well, there's part of that, right? But I don't know. I cannot imagine that at some point somebody deliberately sat down and said, "Damn, this whole, I don't know, Dracula stuff is such an old material. I'm gonna come up with Candle Cove." For example, or maybe that's exactly what happened. I don't know.
That probably is exactly what happened. Because there's a
Yeah.
lot of people my age are looking at these horror movies coming out, and they're like, "Man, it's the same thing that I saw when I was my son's age." I mean, there are no real new original thoughts. It's all just twists on an old idea. Everything that you could like boil every kind of show down to what it originated from and its influences in the past. So now we have to put a modern twist on everything because the things that were scaring people back in the 50s, you know, we've grown up with technology and CGI and everything, so we've seen it all, right? So we got to get beyond what we've seen and start saying, okay, well, what if you saw this, but what if it wasn't quite what you saw, or right? Like, and just keep mixing it up until you got something that's not new but a little bit different, right?
Okay. Yeah, that's a solid point. I'm just very curious because some of those things don't feel like they have been, I don't know, artificially brought to the surface, right? We have people genuinely scared of, I don't know, like horror clusters with the whole trypophobic folk, or the concept of liminal spaces that I'm again only seen being in the talks for the last couple of decades, but I cannot believe for a second there that they weren't used to be huge empty rooms, 100 years back, and that it didn't make feel anybody uneasy. But it's just something that nobody really spoke about, as far as I know. I don't know. And dead blocks. Do we have anything on your front? I mean, you are the representatives of the classics here, right? The undead. So, what do you think makes people seek these new thrills?
Children like to see the same story, but in a new sense, told by somebody differently with a new twist. Pretty much just said before, just me putting it on my own words. Same thing they want to do. Everybody wants to have their own, I guess you would say, their own way to put it, their own way that they see the horror, their own way that they have the twist in the plot. I guess you would say. Uh, I know my
100%.
daughter, just as said before earlier, can watch pretty much the same exact scary movie that I watched as a child, say 30 years ago, but it's in a different platform. They have it in a different setting. They have different characters, but it's still the same exact damn story. They die the exact same ways almost. They get drowned and then they get stabbed, like. But you can show the children or There's even some people that are older that just want to see the new twist. There's certain people that didn't like the old. They thought that it should have been just a hair bit differently. They thought that maybe one of the characters shouldn't have died that didn't die in the new one. It's pretty much the exact same damn story. It's just a hair bit different. It's pretty much that person when they were a child's take of what they might have thought was wrong with that original. They changed it or tried to make it better or trying to work on making it better. Building something like a movie or a game or any kind of form of art, it usually takes quite a bit of time, passion, get it done. Those people, they're trying to push through what they might have seen wrong with it or what they would have changed. It might not even be like what was wrong, but they would have done something differently.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely something I can understand. Again, it would be really interesting to know if most of those things were consciously spawned, so to say. But that also inspires another question to you guys, both as creators. So, is it something that you feel this, and it, yeah, I guess an inherent urge to come up with something new, something nobody has seen before, and then give your own twist to the sense of dread and the adrenaline rush that comes with it.
Thanks, buddy.
Something that I know that we would love to work on. I've always wanted to build something that just sometimes I know we have some designs that I would like to implement in the game as some bosses and some other things that would be pretty cool that would make some things different. And also like how you could escape, like something that I know we've been working on, but think about in real life scenarios, because think of a game to where if you was getting overcrowded by the undead and there was a window there, I'm going to jump out the window. A lot of games won't let you do that, things like that. There's things that we can add to and make it more fun, get more excitement, make it more realistic. Even though it is in a game or in a movie or whatever it might be that you're actually using to kind of interpret that type of horror. Like it needs to be fun, but also scary at the same time. At least on our side. Um, that's the biggest thing, is finding new and fun, challenging things that haven't been done, because as we say, there's a whole lot that has been done. People have been doing horror since it's probably since they could write and read and actually draw and do artwork and tell folklore stories and urban legends and sit on the front porches and talk to all the family to try to scare them. I know that the church way back in the day had a lot of involvement with a lot of horror and things like that, involvement of demons and such things that would bring horror. So,
Boom.
yeah, I mean, that's where it all comes from. I mean, it was all inflicted as pain, torture, and hate. I mean, a long time ago, and people just took it out of taking different stories. You get likings and vampires and all kinds of stories like that. Then different creatures that come out, whether they're giants or they have one eye and they eat the town or whatever it might be. But
Not to
us
mention
over
all
here.
the
Go ahead.
Sorry about that. I was just going to say, on top of that, not to mention all the horror stories that parents tell their kids or communities tell their youth to get them to stay in line too, right?
Yep.
Where do these come from?
Obedience, most definitely, which is how the church would have tried to use it when it first started, which is how lots of people use horror, is by obedience. A lot of people, there's a lot of serial killers that flip out, lose their mind because somebody didn't do or act the way they thought or should have been done. I mean, the world is a crazy place. So horror comes from a lot of terror and torture and things like that. A lot of people do it in happiness and fun and knowing that like they're building a game or doing a movie that people are going to enjoy. But like when you come down to it, like real horror, like comes from those places from a long time ago, and everything that you could imagine has been done or thought up. So it's hard to come up with sometimes new things, but it's fun to try to and to try to implement it in new ways. People seeing it in new ways.
100%. Now, I actually wanted to touch up on that other thing, like where do these new horror things come from? These new urban legends, these new fear of too many holes. And I actually think that has to do with the internet and how we have now been able to find people that are just like us and make our own echo chambers where we amplify our fears. And then it goes to the next people that, oh yeah, I'm afraid of that too. And then it amplifies further. So I think that's where some of those new kind of horrors are coming from. An amplification of singular people finding each other that are kind of trippy on some similar things. But I'm not a psychologist, so what do I know?
Yeah, no, that's actually a really
Each
good
other that are
argument,
kind
and I mean,
similar things.
not to be a nerd or something, but that does fit well with the general concept of a meme as a sort of any idea that has the potential to evolve and spread further. It will, if it's kind of sustainable and appealing, right?
Right. And you were
So
saying, like, it's been only in the last couple decades that all these new kind of horrors and things have been emerging, and it's only been the last few decades that the internet has become so prevalent. So I think
that
there's a
is all.
correlation.
That one thing that you both mentioned, I think, is absolutely brilliant. That initially something that's come from place of trying to inflict obedience or get people to stay in the line, be it on an institutional level, that being the church, or parents telling scary stories to their children to keep them in line. Do you think that in our modern age, where again with the internet, where we can fact check everything, juxtapose everything against each other, such sort of primal and subconscious thing, voluntarily engaging with it is also a sort of a revolt against the mere notion of control that has been inflicted upon us through horror generationally.
That's a tough one.
I mean, I don't know. It does seem like it could be the motivation behind it, but do your opinion on that.
What's the basic of the question? Like, if you could break it down to being very specific?
Okay. Do you think that with us as kids being sort of exposed to horror as a mean of getting us in line, do you think right now as adults, when we expose ourselves to horror voluntarily, could that be a mean of trying to basically take this control back, as a revolt, as not doing what we were told to do, essentially?
So do you think that scaring ourselves is a way of taking back control or overcoming that fear?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, that totally could be. But I can tell you this as a parent, kids will believe what they are told from their parents. So, I mean, if you're telling your kid that there's something scary, they will believe you until they find out that you are a liar, right? So.
And then things get scary for you.
Yeah, it can turn around, but it's really amazing the power of like how much trust that children put into the adults, right? And so as kids are growing up and they're watching these kind of movies and they're getting more and more scared, or less and less scared actually, because they start learning that this is all kind of make believe. That in today's generation is how we're like, kids have seen so many things. We're exposed to so many actual real life horrors that it really is kind of getting harder to scare them that way. And so in some regards, some of the control is gone, right? Like people aren't afraid of getting in trouble anymore. People aren't afraid of the consequences of their actions as much as they might have used to be. And like that's kind of frightening in a way.
Yeah, that's a horror in and out of itself, I would say.
So like that's why we turn to horror that we can kind of control. We can let the good guy win, or we can let the bad guy win. But either way, we get to control it. So yeah, I mean, I create these horror movies. Is it a way of controlling the horrors that I may have been exposed to as a child? Perhaps. It definitely is cathartic for me to let my imagination loose on the page rather than just letting it stew inside my brain all the time. So yeah, I guess you're right. People do experience horrors in a controlled environment to take back some control or to let go of too much control. I guess it could be a two-way street.
Yeah, no, that's solid. And Deadblocks, what do you guys think? Because again, zombies are an absolute classic, right? Something that's been around content-wise for decades, if not centuries already. Is there some truth to that? You might think that people are taking back essentially control over, over what they were spooked of as kids, so to say.
Could be. Everybody's going to feel different. Say that they had an experience that scared them and now they want to go back. Say it was in the graveyard. Say it was somewhere that you would deal with the undead. Say that it was in the realm of the undead. We've all heard stories of different dimensions, going to the world of the undead, things like that. There could be a few different things, most definitely, that they could have some kind of hold that they feel that they have to go back to. They have to experience again, whether it's good or bad for them, whether it's something that they're trying to conquer. There's all with people. I'm not a psychiatrist, but good Lord, there's every single kind of expression now and feeling and everything in between. So I most definitely could see that, to where people have to go back to it. It might be a long time. It might be 10 years. I think that's why people come back and play games and things like that. It brings them back to a remembrance of something that they've either enjoyed or hated. Uh, Sometimes they like to go back and do different things, whether it's positive with it and whether it's negative. Everybody sees it differently. I know the undead has always been something that we've been fascinated with.
I love them.
Who doesn't? I mean, I'm assuming that everybody's here does. Okay, and that leads us. I think this is a good point for this turnover into the whole Web3 aspect of it, right? Because as Byron previously mentioned, we live in this age of rapidly developing technology, and right now, not only can we sort of expose ourselves to horror in controlled environments, but we can freely own, trade, blend, what have you, the well, assets representing something that people 100 years ago might have probably get scared to death from, right? Um, so what does it mean? Do you think that horror creators in the Web3 space, with a full notion of, complete ownership and everything that comes to it, actually dilute horror to a commodity?
Well, I can't speak for others, but
For you.
okay. Well, I mean, my horror is my art, right? Like, or my art is my horror. What is it? As for a commodity, I mean, yeah, but everything we do as a person, as a people, is a commodity in some regards. So the the blockchain makes it super easy for me to share, to spread my artwork around the world. Owning it in this way that I'm doing it, through selling NFTs with my artwork attached to it, it's really cool. I mean, it's revolutionary in my eyes. Um, I forgot the question.
No, I was saying that the traditionally spooky elements, because I'm sure that if I showed any of your art, to stay in the example, to my grandmother, she would cross herself and just push me away because this
Right.
is way too over the top for her, right? But for maybe try to think of it from the point of your collectors. So what would that mean for them? Because objectively, this is supposed to be something tickling at the back of our minds, right?
Right.
Something that is supposed to tell us like, "Yo, this is bad juju." But now you're freely trading it. You are owning fully. So what would that mean for kind of the transformation, I guess, of horror in everyone's eyes now? There are literally means of owning it.
Right. Well, I said and it's really cool because there's so much community interaction with what I do. It's evolved my art style. It's evolved my way of thinking. It's evolved um, how I even start creating and how I picture everything. Like now I'm always constantly thinking, can I use this to blend with this? And it's like, yeah, I could later on down the road. And everything I'm doing now has potential to be used down the road. So people are holding little bits of my horror art, which is, I mean, it's the internet. It's not that scary anymore. It's artwork. You try to make it look really cool so that people really like it. So it's not the same as everything else. But while I'm still doing that, I'm also figuring out little ways to make it like a game in a way. So you collect some zombie pickles, my zickles. You collect a few other things here and there, and then you build a monstrosity zickle or something, right? It's the community now gets a say in which direction all this horror goes. So I guess they've taken some control, and it's really cool. I like the direction that they kind of push me toward, and it helps to keep me going artistically, mentally, the whole 9 yards.
Now that's really awesome. What you said, it kind of reminded me of, I don't know, probably a couple of folks have read those as kids. Robert Stein's books with the choose your own scenario. Sort of, this is where you have an agency in where the horror goes on and how do you go about it and what do you do.
Right.
And yeah, with NFTs as the extension of that notion, so to say, I suppose it, how do I put it? It creates this safe space for one to be like, okay, this is not necessarily scary. This is actually cool. And I can make it so much infinitely cooler already with that. Then, and here comes kind of the tricky part of my whole terrain, because yeah, it's infinitely cool, but is it scary anymore? Is right now, with the full ownership, horror just purely the source of entertainment and not something that still supposed to instill fear in our hearts?
Well, yeah, I don't think we're going to be getting too many people scared unless, like, I'm a jaded individual. I've seen a lot, and I'm old and olderish, but so I don't get scared by pictures unless they're real life pictures of some like real bad things that have happened, and I really don't like to look at those very often. But I think now, because NFTs are such a commodity item, the fear, and not only in just horror based NFTs, but the fear comes now from like missing out.
True.
Yeah, you're right. So and everything's been monetized, like everything, not just NFTs, but everything has been monetized to a degree. NFTs have been monetized to the point where people that have no money to actually buy NFTs can probably farm enough crypto to buy some, or they can win one and sell it, and then just keep evolving from that. And if they're one of those people that know how to play it right, and they get into those early blends and they get their rare thing, then they can upgrade, and like it's wild. And so the horror comes from missing out now, especially with art, right? Like you want to get that mint number one. So that's where the horror is. It's not, for me, I don't think it's so much in the pictures anymore. Like to be actually scared, they'll find them freaky and cool and groovy, and like a neat little twist on Ronald McDonald or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
but I don't think people, except maybe your grandma, are going to get too scared at art as much as they used to, especially on a screen, because we're all looking at them on little handheld screens a lot of times. And there's nothing too scary about a 3x5 or a 2x3 picture, right? Not really.
Our Black Mirror is already doing a good job. And then blogs, guys, you're operating on a still more kind of immersive level of horror, right? Do you feel now that folks engage with your game and with your assets for the pure fun of it, or as Byron pointed out, for the fear of missing out? Or is there, still actual dread and jump scares and adrenaline rush in your community?
All three. We have community members that play for free that come in, that play our tournaments when we have them, that try to compete, whether it's monetization that they're looking after, whether it's competition, whether it's to be scared. Some people, we have worked with the youth, going all the way down to the third grade. We had an event in May that was at a school, and the children got really damn excited and actually scared some of them. Of course, the younger ones more excited than the teenagers and on up. It is an adrenaline rush, especially if you're into first-person shooters, and it's something that you used to really get into with Call of Duty Zombies, Left 4 Dead, Resident Evil, those style games. And that's something that we want to grow and put more in there and put things to where they would pop out and scare you, and more level bosses and possible animals that are undead as well that'll run your ass down to give that exciting and kind of adrenaline rush factor. Uh, there's a lot of things that can be done immersed in the gaming world, and then of course you put the blockchain tech onto it. It's really limitless. I mean, we're so new in this space that we don't even know the capacity of what we can do. There's so much that's still being built that we're still trying to figure out. Blockchain itself, a lot of these chains haven't even figured out their full capability and capacity. So we sure the hell don't even know ours yet, and many other games don't either. We're still so new. A lot of this is still being built out. As Byron said earlier, he might want to turn things into a mini game and stuff. This is a place that he could do that. He could get a single artist in Unreal Engine 5 or Unity, build a small mini game, push it out to a community, give it utility with some kind of NFT or something like that. This is an amazing space, and if you find the right people that you can build with and stuff, it can be even more amazing. And it's just fun to get all those avenues, because it's one of those places. It's weird because it's hard to roll all of that usually into one. And as much as this space offers, it's usually hard to find anywhere on Earth, because we just first come in here into the financials. That's what we all thought way back in the day, just buying Bitcoin, and now it's turned into everything else. And now every entertainment form on Earth is coming in here and building. So it's just exciting, but we have all three of those. We try to pertain to all of them. Some of our new announcements even going to be coming up, or even going to pertain to people coming on that's free that just want to play, the people that just want to have an adrenaline rush, people that might want to come in and be more immersed into the community, what we call an armed survivor.
Nice.
No, that's a solid answer. I had another, I guess, tricky question in my mind, also inspired by Byron's FOMO comment, so to say. Do you think, I mean, fear of missing out itself as a concept is not necessarily new, but it's definitely grown nearly out of proportion since crypto, started spreading far and wide. What other fears and horrors do you think Web3 could inspire in the future?
Well, like Undead Blocks was saying, when you start getting more immersive, like when you start having the games attached to the assets, then it just builds upon that. Like everything just is going to continue to expand.
Movies are coming here soon. I can't really talk a whole lot about who I've spoken to, because I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate it. But there's some big time filmmakers that are looking at this technology, that are figuring out how they can use it immersively. They're wanting to make actual movies about this actual tech and about the games and how they believe that it's the future. Every form of entertainment is coming in here. We've got people talking to Spotify. We've got Sound that's got live products from people like that used to work at Beats by Dre and Monster Audio. They have like real live headphones. There's so much going on in this space. If you stayed up 24/7 and had a team of 10 dedicated people, you still couldn't keep up, it seems like. There's so much that's being built in the background that some people don't even see, especially since it's the bear market. A lot of people just look at the monetary gain, or what the monetary is, what's it doing on a chart. They're trying to put Fibonacci's or look at the volume, things like that. A lot of people's not looking at real live products that are going to be going out to the world as a consumer product. Some of these consumer products are going to be the best that have ever hit the markets. With the top of the line technology, some of the technology that people don't even understand how to use yet. So they're going to have to be taught, even trained how to use some of this tech, and also how to work on it. There's going to be a whole new industry of jobs that comes from blockchain. I know there is some litigations and some things with bureaucrats that we've got to get past, but once they realize what's really going on here, there's a whole lot of avenues that's going to open up, and there's already more avenues than hell you can keep up with that's already open now. Uh, yeah, building the real products is the thing for the future, and it's just going to continue to get more and more and bring more people in here. Uh, it's just something I've been watching since 2013, 2014, being a part of it. And it's just exciting to see. I see the children getting involved now, people actually working directly in schools and working directly with large actual companies. You see empires coming in. You see some of the largest financial companies on earth pretty much now screaming and yelling at everybody to get into Bitcoin when, what was it, 2017, 2018, they said that we were all scam artists. It's insane, but it's going to continue to build. And horror is going to be right there at the forefront. I think that all the genres is going to come in time, just like in gaming. And that's what will make us thrive, is when we work together and we build it out.
I think the whole blockchain will help actually independent horror illustrators, writers, filmmakers, all of them get a better grip on their audience and avoid all the other middlemen that are kind of blocking them from getting any traction.
100%. It's free markets at its finest. You get directly to your consumer if you can find them and get out there and let them know who the hell you are.
And then with the blockchain, it just makes it so easy to not only find them, but to keep them with small rewards that cost you almost nothing.
Yep, and you can even track what they like. You can even track who their friends are. You can track what they go to and use their things to interact with. You can do a lot of things, especially if you're good with analytics.
That's actually a part where I think Web3 is a technology, blockchain is technology, can, inspire some new fears. Because as 𝙒𝘓 said, a few years ago, we have already been labeled as con artists of the new age, essentially, every single one of them, of us. And I wouldn't necessarily call it a fear, right? But something we already have all sorts of content being created and instances around it. Oh, rogue AI is scary, or dark web is scary because people sell organs there and guns and whatnot. But what about Web3? Because I mean, the closest that I can imagine to how blockchain essentially could be shaped into the new age boogeyman is some sort of a decentralized cult. I don't know. It's very hard to come up with anything scary about something that is transparent and traceable.
Well, again, they're just trying to control, right?
That is true.
That's why they're trying to scare you.
Fear is how you divide and conquer. Divide and conquer is how you conquer. It's pretty easy. I mean, if we had real free markets in the world, we wouldn't have a lot of the problems over those organ harvests and things like that. But it's hard to get those ideas through bureaucrats and other people's ideas. They think that sanctions and things like that work on people when they only hurt the actual innocent citizens that really just work day to day, just trying to pay their bills and trying to live life. They don't hurt the big rich and fancy and the elite. They never will. And that's why they use them as fear propaganda, which is another way of horror. Some people, unfortunately, right now are living out some of the worst horrors you could ever imagine on this earth. And it's unfortunate that we can't somehow make peace and get rid of some of those real world horrors and just have fun with it. Play games, watch movies, draw art, things like that, and express it in that way instead of going out and doing the real life horrors that's happening.
Truer words have never been said. All right. I see that a few folks in here, they actually have got to go on wax spooky space in a few minutes, Byron notwithstanding. So I do appreciate everyone's time. Thank you for coming. Thank you, of course, to 𝙒𝘓 and Byron for joining us for this illuminating talk. I think one takeaway that we can all definitely kind of get out of there is that horror on blockchain is supposed to be about fun, be it for a creator or the end consumer, so to say. And two, the world would have been a much, much better place if we just confined the horror to the fun on blockchain, I suppose.
All right. Thanks so much for having us. Having me anyway. Cheers.
Always a pleasure.
Appreciate you for having us as always. Let us know. We'll come back talk anytime. Appreciate everybody that come out. You always get involved in the spookiness season. Make sure you go out and get involved with your local haunted houses and things like that, especially since you're here. We know you love horror. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
Yes, wonderful. Absolutely. Be sure to go play undead blocks, smash some zombie heads, and have a riot. And of course, support the horror artists in the community. Especially, well, I'm biased, but do support Byron because his art is dope as fuck. Okay. Cheers, everybody. Have a lovely, spooky evening. And I guess we will be seeing each other, well, maybe on our Discord server where we just started a series of spooky events today as well. Stay spooky and classy. Cheers.
I need some Jeopardy music or something here while we wait. The next space will be up here in just a few moments. Hope everyone's enjoying their day out there. If you're watching the replay, I'm Derek from the Wax Wolves, and that was the Atomic Hub space. It was spooky something or another. I don't even remember what it was called now, but you just seen it, so good deal. And we got another one coming up. Another one, the official Wax Wednesday space. Any moment with Tommy and I think Byron's going to be on there, which was just on the last one. Tarot cards, Broken Dolls, Monk, I believe, is going to be on there. So it's going to be a good one. And got a few minutes on that, so here shortly.
Good morning, everybody. Get started here in just a second. I'll invite our guests up to speak. Good morning, Monk, Pixel, Wax Wolves, Warren, Mohammed. Apathy. Don't be apathetic. Have fun in our space. All right, we'll get started in just a second. What's up, Monk? What's up, Doris? Hello. Very nice. I like the music. Morning, Derek, B, Tricky, Queen Shanna. Right. I think Boris is just finishing up the previous space he was invited to. Oh, no, excuse me, Byron. There he is. I said Boris. I got Boris on the mind. All right. I think that's everybody. Byron, can you speak? Tara, will you chat? Will you test yours? What's up, Kuma?
Hello.
Perfect. Hear you good.
Bump, bump, bump. All right.
You invite tarot cards back up again. So it's been a bit of a crazy morning. Hey, Tara, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been pretty hectic this morning, but doing good.
Yeah. Tell me about it. I'm really excited you're able to get a break and come and join us. Unfortunately, today, Broken Dolls will not be able to join us. He had a family emergency, so he had to message me about an hour ago.
Oh, super.
But I think everyone's here. Let's go ahead and kick this off. We'll get this started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone in our Wax verse. Tommy from Wax, and I'm excited to kick off our Halloween Wax Wednesday space. So Halloween's something that dates back all the way to like early Celtic traditions of Samhain, and it's evolved over the centuries into the holiday we recognize today. One thing that's remained consistent is we still dress up to ward off evil or hide ourselves from devils that might be trying to find us. So, but there won't be any of that in this space. So I've invited 3 artists who have used the theme of horror as the basis of their art, so we can learn more about them and their collections today. Each one has a kind of distinct style that highlights the terror and scariness across all their creations. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to Monk of Monster Monks, Prevalent Tarot Cards, and artist Byron.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
All right, so just to give a quick bio, first we'll introduce Timothy, aka Monk, behind the collection Little Monster Monks. His collection was kind of created as a response to patients that they attended in the mental health industry, and their artwork is often featuring one-of-one designs, and most recently some very impressive skull artwork that's really been putting some spooky in our Halloween season. So they're always active, and I believe a couple of new pieces just dropped earlier this morning if you were quick enough and paying attention to catch them. So Monk, welcome to Wax Wednesday.
Hey, thank you. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I appreciate you coming in. And I had fun speaking with you last week, too. Next, let me introduce you to Previn, the mind behind the Tarot Cards app in our horror collection. Since 2004, the Tarot Cards has been promoting beautiful actresses and actors through their Scream Queen trading card releases. Whether it's a Pumpkin Man, The Barn, or virtual horror film screenings, Tarot Cards' gamified collection of behind-the-scenes trading cards is sure to pique the interest of anyone who's really interested in the horror. So, Previn, welcome to our space. I'm so excited you're able to, last minute, be able to come back and got that break.
Thanks, Tommy, for having me. I'm honored to be on this space, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. And then finally anchoring our journey into the ghastly lights, we have artist Byron. You may have caught him creating art live last week on the Consumer Break Twitch stream, or just jumped over here from the Atomic Hub Twitter space where Byron was a guest. His detailed and unique take on our zombie apocalypse has yielded more than a few great pieces of art. Now, whether it's like a hungry stare looking at you, a zombified community member from the Horde, or undead cats, Byron makes just about everything. Welcome, Byron.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, if you didn't see Byron creating art live on stream last week, you can tune in right now to twitch.tv/Byron Rempel, BYRONREMPEL, and you can catch him making art live right now on Twitch.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's enough for me. Let's hear from our artists. If you have questions or you want to come up and speak, we will have a break in the middle of the interview where audience members can come up and participate. So first one, I know, Byron, I was going to throw this to you first, but I think you kind of really well exhausted it earlier in the space. I wanted to ask you, like, what is it about horror that's appealing to you? But made me drill that down. What is it specifically about the zombies that you like compared to other horror themes?
Well, that's kind of giving away a bit of an artistic secret then, but, I really don't keep secrets. So I draw zombies so that I can hide my poor anatomy drawing ability. I'll leave it
That's a
at
really
that,
cool
right?
one.
Like, okay, I can't get the arm there, so I'm just gonna rip it off. Boom, it's a zombie.
That's fantastic.
You know, I have a very messy style. It's very chaotic. It's something as a kid I did not like about my art style because I wanted to be more clean. I wanted to be a comic book artist. I wanted to draw like Jim Lee or something like that, right? Like really nice and clean lines and be the penciler, to have an inker, all this kind of thing. But it just wasn't working. You know, my art style didn't fit that. So it took a long time for me to finally find out that, well, I should just draw zombies. And I have my wife to thank for that one.
I know zombies was something that I was extremely engaged in for most of my 20s and 30s. The idea of the apocalypse and trying to survive through it with games and movies. So it's really exciting to see when you are sharing all these different creations that you make.
I'm painting you right now.
Yeah, remember, hop on stream if you want to see that one. All right, so I want to ask also, like, Monk, what is it about horror that is so appealing to you when you're kind of creating art? Is it like your favorite type of art, or is there something else about it that really is drawing you?
I would say horror to me is like the art of it. It just comes with my imagination, my dreams I might have, and stuff like that. The mental health kind of messed me up, and yeah, I don't know where to go from there. Yeah. So horror to itself, I've worked at haunted houses and stuff like that, and I've always loved it as a kid. I started out with Nightmare on Elm Street when my sisters showed me. So yeah, I've been a fan ever since.
Nightmare. How old were you when you watched Nightmare on Elm Street? Because I know if you were, we spoke a few weeks ago. I think it was a different space possibly, but you know, I'm a lightweight when it comes to horror. I get real scared real quick, and I'm all running for the covers.
I was probably like 8 or 9, maybe. And I remember the scene I walked in on, and it was the girl was running up the stairs, and she got stuck constantly.
Yeah, that's too much. Too much for me. Sure. All right, thanks, Mark. And then Previn, let me ask, with your art, what is it about the horror genre? Are you like a horror fanatic? What is it that made that kind of like the basis around which you built your app and your collection?
Yeah, I mean, just growing up, as a kid in the 80s, getting exposed to all the great horror films of the 80s. I'm a big creature feature guy, so I love creatures. And yeah, so I mean, I just fell in love with like horror films. There's something, visceral about it. If you want to watch like a slice of life, movie, just go watch the news, right? So, horror gives you like a bit of an escapism, and also, just like a thrill ride. So, way back from the 80s on, I love that experience and I love that feeling, and I just grew to love horror films even more just throughout the decades after.
Is there a specific like a movie that really kind of launched you into that you can recall? Kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street with Monk?
Right. I mean, the most memorable one I would say would be Pieces. Even though I don't quite like that movie, my parents are pretty big horror buffs themselves too. So they exposed me to that real early on, and I was just like kind of just shocked at what I was seeing. It's like a very, very like violent slasher film, and I wasn't scared. I wasn't happy either because I was just perplexed at what I was seeing. But then that led me into stuff like Pumpkinhead, Evil Dead, and stuff like that. More of the creature side of horror, which which I did like. So yeah, I would say like Evil Dead, Pumpkinhead, The Thing. Those are the ones that really like propelled me to the love of the genre.
I've never seen Pieces, but I'm afraid to go look it up already. Definitely a big fan of Evil Dead. I think we were chatting before.
Yeah, it's like Saw before Saw.
Right. Okay. I did see Saw in the theater when it came out, and that was enough for me. That was a good dose of horror for that decade. All right, so let me ask this now. Since we were kind of talking a little bit about your collection, does turning like the art into NFTs help you expand the reach of your creation with a wider audience, Previn, or were you still getting because I know you have the Tarot Cards app on Google Play and iOS. Is that something that kind of like let you branch out easier by adding the Web3 element?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, I guess, brought a bigger audience because when I started the app, I started it in 2017, so that was way before NFTs really were a thing. So it was still digital. It was still digital cards, so people were collecting digitally already then. And with the explosion of NFTs, it just made sense to branch into that realm to basically get folks on that side exposed to what tarot cards is, and also the people on our, I would say, off-chain side. They've always, once NFTs became a thing, they've always like asked me, hey, when are we gonna have some of these stuff on chain so they can leverage, all the marketplaces and and all the stuff that NFTs have. So it's definitely broadened the digital collecting community out, and also just the film community as well too, because films, especially horror films, are still very physical. People still love collecting DVDs and Blu-rays and have like trophy rooms full of this stuff. And with the app, with the NFT, it's letting people collect these stuff virtually as well as physically now. So I'm getting the horror community as part of it as well too. So yeah.
And then I want to kind of throw the same question over to Monk as well, and Byron. But Monk, do you use the is the NFT or the advent of NFTs and blockchain helping you share your artwork to a wider audience, or is there already other avenues that you were exploring and taking advantage of?
Actually, this is the first route I'm actually taking, and I've gained quite a few followers and stuff like that. I'm actually loving it, like just doing the artwork itself. I used to do artwork when I was a kid, and I fell off for a little bit, and I got back into it, and then how I got into NFTs was through Mobius. So like Mobius taught me how to do a couple of the things and stuff like that, which then I just started making heads, and it's been fun, like gathering people and stuff like that. The community is pretty awesome. I love the wax.
It's amazing how fast you can build community using the Wax blockchain.
Definitely.
Yeah, and just keeping them, like rewarding them with simple things. It's really fun, and it just keeps getting better as the technology continues to expand.
True that.
Byron, I think because you've been doing art for quite a while as well. Was Web3 your first venture, or am I correct in understanding that you were also doing other prints and other types of merchandise where you're featuring your art for people who are excited about it?
Yeah, well, I've been doing art online since 2009, roughly. But I wasn't really trying to sell it too much back then. I was just, like, not as a commodity. I was trying to sell the idea that, hey, look, I'm doing this watch me kind of thing, right? Like, and that's kind of what artists want in the beginning. They want an audience. So that was my start. And then after a while, when people start asking for things, I started trying to give it. But from selling on print on demand sites like Redbubble and things like that to selling physical prints or physical artwork, yeah, I've kind of run the gamut for stuff like that. And now I'm only just starting to get into the technology side of it. And man, I want to make a game. But anyway.
Do you think because if I'm remembering correctly, you had a lot of your art like you had put up online, but then it disappeared. Is that with Google Plus falling off? Is that what turned you towards blockchain because it's more of an immutable record of the work you've done?
Well, originally, I mean, what turned me to the blockchain was I needed to make a buck, and my half brother said, "Here's a way," and so I gave it a shot, and it worked. After that, it became like, well, here's a way that I can I can record my progress with the blockchain technology. I can record all sorts of things that might get lost now down the road. Like it's I don't know what you want me to say, but blockchain with like Wax has been revolutionary in my opinion for an artist that tries to make a living selling art. I kind of forget the question.
To me, something. No, no. To me, it was almost like a something that I often heard Schnazzy talk about in last year's spaces was that we're creating like a history and a record or a chronicle, like you were saying, of our work, which is, it's not expected to disappear if a site like Google goes down. So I was curious if you had like an insight to that, which I believe you answered the question just perfectly fine.
Okay, cool. But yeah, it's been a trip. The whole being on Wax these last 2 years, it's been amazing. Nothing else has ever been like it.
And we're definitely at the forefront with the new tech here in the Web3 space. You were talking a little bit about community building and how easy it is to use blockchain or Web3 to kind of create a community around your art. Do you believe that it fosters a closer connection and that helps you spread the word a little bit better among your community and helping introduce people to it, Byron?
Yeah, absolutely. And the really cool thing is with the whole Wax community, they kind of get behind the idea of promoting the artist because it helps the artist create more art and it helps the artwork that they've already created gain in value, which increases what they're holding, even though that's not their main goal. Mostly they just want to promote the artist because they want that artist to succeed. The better the artist does, the better they do. Even again, that might not be their primary goal, but it's a nice little side effect. So it's really encourages community development. Like more people talk about it, more people promote their own little communities. Even though in Wax you might be in the Horde, but you could also be in like a half dozen other communities and just as active and have like a half dozen friends from half dozen of those other communities in there with you. You know, like it's really cool. So there's a lot of collaboration too, which builds community further because now you got communities supporting communities. So it's just never ending.
Yeah, I think the ability to be able to participate in multiple things and share and champion the artists that you're a big fan of lends itself well to our space. Monk, do you believe when you create your art, do you focus on like, oh, this is for the community, or like this is like for me? How does the aspect of introducing the community kind of change or alter what you're doing with your artwork?
With my artwork, like lately, it's been the skulls, and I'm just actually doing them how I want to right now. I put a few questions out there, like polls and stuff, to see like what could be next, or like I'll back one of my NFTs, or put a random one out there that says, "Hey, you want a custom made one?" But I think all in all, I make them how I want,
I like that. I like when you're making something for yourself. I think it can be rewarding in a different way than making something for everyone to consume. And then if people who really kind of dig it, you can find very like-minded individuals. And then, so Previn, I kind of wanted to pick your brain a little bit as well. You talked about combining the outside community of the horror fanatics with the communities you find here on Wax Blockchain. So, how does introducing the NFT aspect kind of adjust what your what types of pieces and cards you decide to create? Does it adjust it at all, or are you still just doing the collectibles anyway, just adding the aspect of for ownership?
Yeah, I'm definitely adding the aspect of ownership to it. I mean, I view my platform as a more of a marketing thing. So I'm like at this. I see it as a synergy of promoting and showcasing films, uh, as long as well as like giving basically collectible value to the community. So, for like horror films, maybe like 5 horror films get released in the theater a year. But the majority of films basically goes straight to streaming, straight to video, and stuff like that. So, a lot of times it's helping to promote horror films to the horror community. So I just choose to do it as collectible trading cards instead of like writing a review blog or something that's all over. That's plenty of people do, right? So I'm just trying to basically merge the community, the horror community, along with just collectors, because horror people, there's tons of horror conventions. Like I said, everybody loves buying like uh, DVDs and films and stuff. So I'm just trying to expose the horror community to these films that they might not necessarily know about, since there's just so many horror films out there. So that's kind of like the back and forth that I try to do with my collection. And a lot of times on the wax side of things, I usually try to keep things more on the higher end, whereas on the app, I basically have, like, when I showcase a film, I usually have like scene cards, behind the scene cards, character cards, for them to collect. But on wax, I usually try to keep it on the higher end with like signature cards of the actors, or costume cards, or rare blends, so that it gives a bit higher ownership on that level. And also, like, if you're a horror fan, you might watch a movie like The Barn, and there's some big names in there. There's Joe Bob Briggs, there's Darcy, there's Doug Bradley, the guy that plays Pinhead. But you might not be able to ever make it out to a convention to meet these people or get their autographs. So we as me and the distributors and filmmakers, we provide that digitally, so at least you can get like a digital autograph of, like, Doug Bradley, who played like Pinhead. So that's what we're trying to offer with what we do.
Thank you for kind of like giving me that insight and sharing with everybody here. I want to pause for a moment and see if anyone in the audience has any questions that they'd like to ask our guests today. Go ahead and raise your hand, and I'll bring you up to the stage, and you can ask your spooky or art-related question to these great creators. I'll just pause for a second for anyone to raise up if they're interested. If you're shy, that's okay. We've got more just ahead as well. While we're kind of waiting to see if anyone has any other questions, let me ask this one. This one's a little bit more fun. What is the spookiest thing that's ever happened to you? We'll go to Monk first.
My spookiest thing is probably a year ago or so, like that. I was walking the grounds of a state hospital, and I was just taking pictures and stuff like that. and I either caught a ghost or a demon in the picture. And I would love to pin it if you allow me to.
Yeah, I think you can do that. Do I have to go for it? That's,
All right.
that's I'm getting chills right now thinking about it. I want to say yes, do it, because it'd be great for the space. I also want to be like, I don't want to see this with my eyes, but definitely put it up there. Byron, what's the spookiest thing that's ever happened to you? And then we'll go to Tara, and then I think Emma has a question.
Well, there's actually been quite a few, but one easy one to talk about is when we first moved into this house, there used to be some kind of little, looked like a potato doll, like where you make a face out of potato and let it shrivel up, but it was made of like nylon and stuff, right? It was stuck to our door on the inside. And I thought, hey, that looks kind of cool, right? It fits my vibe a bit. But then months later, some of our baby toys would just start going off randomly at night. And it would like nonstop. Like there was one that would do A, B, C, and would go like A, B, 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 C, and like whatever. All that stopped shortly after we threw that thing away because my wife didn't like it. Thought it was kind of ugly. So anyway, coincidence? I don't know, but it was freaky.
Yeah, that's absolutely hearing like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're sleeping.
I'm definitely going to say I'm getting like shivers. Previn, what's the spookiest thing that's happened to you?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, we used to live in Illinois, and houses over there have basements. Not like California here. And the house that I grew up in, I was a kid then. It had like a U-shaped basement, but it was basically not used at all. And the side of the U that you go down into, my parents may have stored tools and other trinkets there. But when you turn the bend to the other side, it gets like, it's like unfinished. There's bricks, and there's like one side of the wall on the opposite side of the U was like broken, and it had like a hole, right? And so I never went around that corner, and I like never dared to peep through that hole to see what was there. It just like completely freaked me out. It was just like all dark on that side, and like nobody in the family ever went on that side. So it's just things of like Amityville stuff going on there.
Man, yeah, I think I was definitely lucky not to grow up somewhere where we have basements. Being on the West Coast as well. But yeah, that's the basement definitely would have maybe would have made me more interested in horror. But I think it probably would have made me more scared, to be honest. And I would have stayed out of the same thing as you. All right, let me shake that off a little bit. We have Ema, who's got his question, and then Alka Hills. Ema, go ahead and ask your question.
Can you hear me? Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I'm very happy to be among the speakers today. Thank you for this privilege. I have a simple question for Byron. Byron, I don't know whether I'm pronouncing the artist right. Byron. Okay. I've been playing your collections, and I really love what you're doing. So I wanted to ask you, what is giving you the inspirations for your creations?
What gives me the inspiration to create zombies and things like that?
Yeah.
Well, there was a time in my life when I didn't like a lot of things, so I was quite angry.
Hey, sorry to cut you off, Byron. Mute your mic while everyone else is talking. Got a lot of feedback, please. Thank you. Go ahead, Byron.
All right. So anyway, when I started drawing, the whole idea of unleashing my emotions onto paper is what kind of led to drawing zombies. I mean, I always, in high school, the teachers would tell me that I need to draw happier looking people and things like that. I didn't actually start drawing zombies until probably around 2008 or so, when it started taking that slant. And that's because my wife is a huge horror fan, so I started getting into horror, and then I started finding out that, well, my art style kind of suits the genre. So draw what you love, do what you love kind of thing, right? And then as I progressed, I just got weirder, and I can't explain that one. I just draw and try to get all the darkness outside of me instead of inside. And I try to make it look cool.
Great question, Ema. Thanks, Byron. Ema's reading off my notes, asking my questions I'm going to ask.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Keep it up. I really love what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ema. All right, 𝙒𝘖𝙓 𝙒𝙒𝙓, you have a question for our artist. Please go ahead.
Hi, Jim, everyone. I think it's great to hear from the artist. I've been loving the AMA session. So, like, quick question. I would love to find out, like, what collections they are looking at creating before the end of year. I think we're approaching Xmas season, this is Christmas season. Then also for New Year, I don't know if they have any stuffs lined up for the fans.
If you're asking me, I have, like, it's just an always evolution. There's some Christmas ideas I have coming up, some snowman ideas I have coming up. There's something that's going to happen with those pumpkins. If you've collected the PFP pumpkin, the jack-o'-lantern, and broke it open as a pack to collect all the evil pumpkins inside to get the pumpkin patch of evil, there's only 13 of them. On October 31st, the great pumpkin will arise, and one of the owners of the pumpkin patch of evil can grab it. So it'll be kind of fun. I'm always trying to come up with new and weird ideas that just suit my mood at the time. I'm open to suggestions too.
Yeah, and over our side, yeah, it doesn't stop at Halloween, right? So Thanksgiving, we have a horror-themed Thanksgiving set, probably kicking off next week, towards the end of next week. And also we have a Christmas-themed horror film we're going to showcase probably right after Black Friday. So 24/7, we're horror all year round.
Isn't it fun?
How about you, Monks? Do you have anything special lined up for the later holidays as we round out the year?
For Thanksgiving, I have turkey skeletons coming up. And then for Christmas, I am not quite sure yet. So that for me, Christmas is like
That's why we add horror to it.
right. I'll find an idea though. Trust me.
And I'm going to come back and ask a little bit more about kind of gamification, because we kind of touched on that. But we have one more question here from Judex, who wanted to ask a question for our artist. Judex, go ahead.
Okay, GM guys. Thanks for the opportunity to ask the question and also to meet the artists themselves, to hear from the horse's mouth. So my question is, the Buron is around the corner, and also it will also attract a lot of players into the NFT space and gaming space. So I'm asking the artists what they really have in their reserve to attract these people that will come into different chains, to bring them into Wax blockchain. NFT Buron will also come, and people will be very focused on the very best of the NFTs. So I'm asking if they have really something special for us to attract big players into the Wax blockchain NFT space. That's my question.
I'm not qualified to answer that one, I don't think. I mean, I'm just doing what I can. I don't think the big players pay attention to me.
What was the question again, Judex? You cut out a little bit on me.
Well, the question is if they really have something special to attract big NFT players into Wax blockchain. During the NFT bull run, players will always look for the best of the arts to invest in, best of the arts to put in their money in. So if there are special and well, like good art in Wax blockchain, it will actually attract them into the blockchain. So I'm asking if they have something special preparing, because it's actually the season is coming. When the season comes, do they have something to attract them into Wax blockchain? That's the question.
So I think,
Yeah,
sorry, go on. Papa.
yeah. I mean, on my end, um, I'm trying to bring as much horror film distributors as I can. Right now I have 6 distributors that I work with. They're all on the indie side of things, right? But that's 6 more that know about digital collectibles and now NFTs than it was, 2 years ago. So it just for me, I just keep trying to reach reach audience that are not necessarily on the digital side and try to bring them in. So
I think Judith, I know you've been here for a while too. When you're looking at the Wax blockchain as a whole, especially the art community is something that's very vibrant here. And because you don't need to have exorbitant gas prices and stuff like that, it's easy for you to grow your community here on Wax. So that's something that we often say is like utility Wax, liquidity everywhere. It literally allows artists to foster community and not break the bank doing so. They can get started without needing a lot of like overhead or stuff like that. And then one big community member that I see always reaching out and participating in spaces is the Goparel team. They're often in different spaces and sharing different information about coming to Wax, how to get onboarded and stuff like that. So I think that in conjunction with a lot of the work that's being done with Wax Hub just to get the word out is what is very instrumental in helping onboard new users during the market. Good question. All right, I'm gonna knock you guys down real quick, and then we're gonna go ahead and continue with some of the other stuff. Let's talk about the gamification. Previn, I kind of wanted to start with you. You kind of already answered this a little bit, but when you're making your content, does the idea for making it kind of collectible and gamified, does that kind of drive the main impetus for what types of movies that you're featuring?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, our app, has a lot of the functions that you see in the marketplace, right? We have like trading in there, buying packs, blending for a different result. But what we did is, our app is free, and so you can come in there and play. You can build up your collection. I even made a minting free as well to Wax, right? So now the entire process is free, right? So the goal is to to give exposure to the films, and on the collector side, their goal is to finish off the film. So each film we do, there's roughly probably about 40 to 50 cards, right? But broken up between scene cards, character cards, signature cards, all that stuff. So, if they collect them all, then they get special awards given to them, off-chain and on-chain. We award on both sides, right? So that's part of how we gamify the whole thing, and to keep the collectors interested, and also to give and to continually give exposure to these horror films.
Good. Well answered. Thank you. Byron, I know you kind of touched on this a little bit in the last space, and you mentioned that making a game would be something you'd be excited to do. When you're creating art, do you ever have the intention of adding that gamification or blending different art pieces together? Does that influence the type of art you make, or the amount of time maybe you spend on each individual piece?
The amount of time I spend on each individual piece varies by each individual piece, because some things just are quicker than others. That said, everything I do too, like now because of the wax technology, everything I do, I'm always thinking, well, how can I use this later? How can I use this later? And there's things I haven't used for a year and a half that I'm starting to figure out ways to use now. And that's kind of really cool, right? Like, we can always be recycling our own artwork. So it has changed how I work, how I think about my art, what I'm doing. And yeah, it's changed a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot more community involvement, which is probably one of the Wax's biggest weapons as well, right? Like, it builds communities. So anyway, yeah, the blockchain has definitely changed how I do everything.
Thank you. And then Monks, you had mentioned that you mostly are doing one-of-one drops nowadays. Do you ever think about gamification or adding or making specific types of art for specific types of like collectibles, or like a special campaign, or a crafting recipes?
Yeah, it would be cool. I think I've done one blend, and that was about it. For crafting, I would love to get into like t-shirts and stuff like that. Maybe have them as like, if you could buy them as tee, you get a t-shirt, but I'm still looking into that stuff. It's been a very hard progress since going into it, so I'm still working out the kinks. But I think with like the NFT side, with gamification and stuff, there is sometimes I'll hold like a Twitter space, and I'll do like a trivia. You'll do a trivia. If you answer most of the questions right, hey, let's get an NFT to you, and maybe we can open you up a Wax account.
One thing to say about gamification on Wax, though, is it's really easy to help your community come up with games that they can end up actually making additional Wax on top of, right? Like, if you make these blend games where they can get the rare pieces first, they can maybe sell them before others and stuff. So you almost can build an eco, or like an economy within your community. Ugh, that was a tongue twister. An economy within your community with the blending and crafting and stuff on Wax.
Most definitely. And then like sometimes with those trivia spaces, I'll back the NFT, and it's okay to burn it. Hey, it's whatever the person wants to, the winner.
Right.
Yeah, I think burning an art piece that's backed is definitely a conundrum if you're like a really big fan of the art, or if it's a one-on-one as well, because it's definitely something you got to think about, like, what do you want to do? And I like that you're giving the collector or the owner, that choice. I think that's really great too. Tara, I know you've got to leave in a few minutes. So I want to ask this question here, so I'll throw it to you first. I think a lot of us can find that sometimes when we're trying to create something or write something, we can get stuck in a rut. So what kind of tips do you have, or what do you do when you feel like you're stuck and you're reaching a block and you're having trouble coming up with something to create? I'm going to go to you first. It might be maybe a little different from your angle.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different. mainly because you know, if I'm, I mean, if I'm stuck coming up with a design to showcase the film uh, well enough, I usually just put it aside and work on the other project that I have that's basically being released concurrently or not. And honestly, I have a couple like collectors that's become like friends in through the years, and I'll just pitch ideas to them. You know, I mean, they'll kind of get a sneak peek, and is that right, wrong? I don't know, but if I'm like torn between a couple designs, I would throw it to the community and say, hey, which one looks better? Because ultimately they're the ones that's collecting these stuff. So it's good to get their input. So I have no problem reaching out to my communities sometimes when I have a couple designs that I have in my mind and just can't decide. But
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Pitching to the community. That's again like utilizing the community and that involving everyone aspect. That
okay.
kind of really
All right.
makes what we're doing shine.
All right. So thanks, Tommy, for holding this. I gotta go to the courtroom now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining. I was really excited that you were able to join us today. So remember, you can check out Tarot Cards. The Tarot Cards app is on Google Play and iOS. Where's the best place for folks to follow you, Previn?
I'm on Twitter all the time, so that's the social platform of my choice. So my DMs are open, so you can definitely hit me up in the DMs.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Monk, what do you do when you get stuck and you're like maybe getting a block? I only can think of it as writer's block because I don't really draw or anything like that yet, but I definitely get writer's block. So what do you do when you're blocked and you need to release the creative energy?
I usually go fishing. I know it sounds weird, but I like going catfishing, and that's even weirder. Probably like channel catfish. Those are one of my favorites to catch. Once I catch them, the adrenaline comes right back to me.
That's cool.
Do you think, like when you said fishing, I thought it was a great answer. Do you feel like allowing it almost goes into like a meditative state or a fugue state when you're just kind of just casting out and doing the same like motion while you let your brain kind of just work in the background?
I kind of map out where I'm gonna fish. Like for catfish, they're bottom feeders and stuff like that. So I have my certain spots that I go to a lot, and yeah, I'll just sit there at night or during the evening and just let's have a fire and let's just chill, and that usually puts me in a good space. So then I can come back and be like, oh, I am relaxed. Let's go.
And then Byron, I'm gonna throw it over to you as well. What do you do to kind of release the energy when you're stopped up?
Well, maybe I'll go on a bike ride with my wife, do something different, play Rocket League. There we go. I like doing that. Kind of helps me just unwind, not have to think much, right? Just think strategy and angles then.
Yeah, I think finding a way to turn on your subconscious and let the not try to force it is definitely something that's at least helpful for me, and it sounds similar from what you mentioned here.
Yeah, definitely. Don't overthink.
All right, then Monk, I know I think I kind of already got the answer for this from Byron, but just in case I didn't, I'm gonna go to you first, Monk. You have Little Monster Monks. You also have the Soya and the Skulls collection, with the Skulls being like more recent. Is there an origin story behind soya and skulls, similar to how the little monster monks came from your time working at work with in the mental health field?
Monk and Soya at one point were battling with each other, so it looked like the monster monks kind of defeated them. But I would like to start making more Soyas. It's just I love doing the skulls right now, and it's very easy to come up with a skull idea than it is to a Soya. She took some time, and like the whole monster monks, they're evolving into full bodies, so I'm really enjoying that part.
Yeah, the skulls that you've shown me recently have been like top notch for sure.
Definitely. What was that?
I said definitely a fan of those.
Oh, thank you.
And then Byron, I think you kind of shared already a little bit about the origin story behind the zombies. What about, I'm seeing you draw right now a pickle on Twitch. What is it about the pickles that made you kind of throw your energy into that?
Well, they're actually zickles because they're zombie pickles, right?
Right.
But that's actually a community-inspired and community-driven project. 𝙒𝘒 is a website that we really need to update one of these days soon. And it all started when someone had suggested a zombie pickle. I drew one. We called it a zickle. I drew a few more. We started having a good time with it as a community, and it just blossomed into growing a cucumber to eventually get a zickle from that. And that used the technology at the time, which was the blending, and it's now evolved to crafting as mirror blends and a lot of other fun things. But at the time, that was like totally wax community driven, and that was a lot of fun. So that's where that one came from.
That's really cool. I love that it's a zickle, not a pickle. Well done. Very cool.
Thanks.
All right, so I've got one more question here from my main group of questions I wanted to ask everybody. So how do you plan to spend your Halloween? And are there any like special family traditions that you do for Halloween? We'll go to Byron.
We used to take the kids out for Halloween, but they're all grown up past that. So now we just turn the lights off and watch a horror movie while eating popcorn and sitting on the couch in nice warm comfort. It looks like it's going to be a really cold Halloween this year.
And then Monk, same question to you. Is there anything special you do for Halloween?
We usually decorate the house and hand out candy. My little one goes out trick-or-treating with her mom usually, or my wife. And I stay back and hand out candy. This year, though, holy smokes, candy has been expensive. What is up with that?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right.
I think everything is just rocketing up, or especially around this time. Do you partake of the clearance candy next week or after Halloween when it all gets marked down? Do you stock up?
Yeah.
Put it in the freezer for next year.
And sad, like it's the dad. Oh no, that's my stash.
There you go.
I like chocolate and stuff.
What's your favorite candy, you guys?
Icy squares.
That's a hard one. I like Almond Joy, to be honest with you. I think they're really good.
I'm right there with you. That's probably one of my favorites for sure. Definitely like top 5.
Yeah.
Byron, I don't think I heard what you said.
It was just icy squares. They're just chocolate squares. They only come out at Christmas time area, so I'm still waiting.
Nice.
Yeah, good ones. Those are all good ones. All right, so thank you. I want to pause again. We're getting toward the end of our space, and I want to be respectful of our guest time. So if there's anyone else who has questions for our artists here, go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll bring you up on stage. while we're waiting for people who might be shy to muster up the courage, what is your favorite scary or horror movie, Byron?
Well, I like the early Walking Dead series. I know it's not a movie. Man, it's so hard to nail down a movie. I was a big fan of Paranormal Activities series because I'm already done with a lot of horror stuff. So the idea of like an entity kind of was freaking me out at the time. And I was kind of insomniac. So it really freaked me out because I'd be sleeping or not sleeping in the dark with my eyes open and wondering what every shadow was for a little while.
That's a good one. I've not watched the Paranormal Activity because I heard it was really scary. So I'm definitely a baby when it comes to that. But that is one I've heard is really popular.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
How about you, Monk?
I like Trick or Treat. And then, I like Killer Clowns also.
I watched that.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Yeah. Watching people turn into cotton candy, to me, that's just hilarious.
I love that scene with the crazy straw too, because I had a ton of those crazy straws and got in trouble for trying to sharpen them.
Nice.
I just saw the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movie the other day.
Really?
It wasn't bad. It was more of a slasher. Made no perfect sense, but I mean it's Winnie the Pooh, so
It's a slasher too.
yeah.
They never make sense. I like the new Evil Dead Rise. That was pretty good.
Haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you'll have to see it.
I will.
You're definitely a fan of the Evil Dead. I mean,
on my list.
Yeah.
Granted, they took the turn of not being like a comedy anymore. It's definitely.
What do you think the new
definitely
Dracula
earned
movie?
it. Oh, I thought that was supposed to come out this year, but
Or what's it called? It's where they're on the voyage. I can't remember what the name is now. Oh well.
Was that the Reddington?
I'm not sure myself. You know me. I'm hiding under the bed when anyone talks about these movies.
So I wanted to say, if you looked at the pen, the picture above, the ghost or demon is into the left lower panel. And yeah, that was the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I definitely checked it out. I definitely saw that. I was like, all right, that's exactly what he's talking about right there.
Yep. And you're not allowed to go in that building at all. Like, it is completely shut down. So yeah, seeing that was kind of spooky.
All right, I think we definitely scared our audience from any questions they have. So we'll go ahead and wrap up our space. Let me thank everyone who joined us today for joining us in our spooky space. Let me give a really big thank you to our guests, Previn from Terran Cards, Byron, Leader of the Horde, and Timothy from Monster Monks. Unfortunately, Broken Dolls wasn't able to join us today, but shout out to them as well, because they make some really cool little toys that are definitely creepy and give me a Cthulhu vibe. So, Monks, what's the best place for our listeners to follow you, learn about you, check out your collection, and what you have available?
Follow me right here on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it anymore. Yeah, this is where you'll catch me most of the time. I don't really have a Discord, so I know.
And Byron, same question. What is the best place for everyone to follow you, see what you're working on, and catch up with the latest going on with the Horde?
Well, there's artistbyron.ca. I try to put my collection in there as I create it, so it's quite a big rabbit hole to jump into. Other than that, I'm on Twitter X all the time, and Discord as well. It's got the Horde's Discord, and it's sometimes quiet, sometimes not quiet, but I'm usually in there.
All right, everybody, you heard it here. You can follow these fabulous artists right here on Twitter, and then follow them right to their Discords, or not in Mug's case. Thank you to both of you, and also Tarot Cards as well, who's here earlier, for sharing your time and your insights with me and our listeners. I hope everyone listening in below right now or tuning in later has a safe and fun Halloween next week. We won't have a Wax Wednesday space next week, but we will meet back here again on the 8th of November. We'll have our last tech update for the year.
Cool.
Everybody have a happy Halloween, and we wish you well.
Thanks for having me.
Stay safe. Absolutely. Thanks for coming. Both you guys.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Stay safe.
Catch you guys next time.
All right, that concludes both spaces. Hope you enjoyed. If you're tuned in, watching the replay, the first space was 𝙒𝘼𝙓, and then the next one is the Wax Wednesday. So happy Wax Wednesday to all. If you're watching this on another day that isn't Wednesday, well, happy whatever day it is. This is Derek from the Wax Wolves, and I will talk to you all later. Have a good one.